Hello, hello, hello. We are here. We are here. What is this? Oh, that's the top of the laptop. Alrighty, let's get this thing going. I'll do a share. Here's how. Preston, hey, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Just getting things set up here. Sending things. Yeah, I'll get to why I haven't streamed recently, why I didn't stream for the release of the chapter, basically. I'll get to that in a second. Hey. So, yeah, I'm using the webcam mic again for now. I would like to get another high-quality microphone, and I'm thinking about doing that. But they are pretty costly, and I just I want to make sure it would work, because I still don't 100% know why the mic didn't work. But it did seem to be the microphone and not the computer. So I'm hoping that another microphone would work. For now, I'm just going to try to enunciate and speak clearly, because I know that that can be an issue. Doodles, welcome. You weren't called Doodles before, were you? Change your username on YouTube? Maybe because of the big reveal? I guess while we wait for people to come, I don't know. I got stuff over. I got so much random stuff over here. I have a bathtub cleaner on this coffee table. I don't know why. I just put it here when I got it, and I was like, I just forgot about it. But I do. Oh, I have some like what do you, I don't know what you call this. The magic sand. I got some of that. I play with that sometimes when I'm watching a movie or something. But I also have some Funko Pops that I'm going to put on a bookcase that I got pretty recently. I have. Let me do them in the order people are going to know these characters, right? Let's see. Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. No. Okay, let's start. And now I have a few Funko Pops. These are the ones I have up here in Orlando. Yeah, I like that. I was proud of that title, Justin's Game. I'm probably going to change the thumbnail after I record to not something from the chapter, but something pretty fitting, a joke illustration that Raikou drew. I don't know if you would have seen it. Doodles might know what I'm talking about. So first Funko Pop I have here is Pris from Blade Runner. She's a very cool character. I want to say, I could look this up. I'm not going to bother to look it up real quick. I want to say inspiration for Harley Quinn. This movie came out in the 80s. Harley Quinn debuted, I think, early 90s, right? Or whenever the animated series was. I want to say this character, I don't know if it's confirmed. I think I must have read somewhere. It's a little inspiration for that. The Mario movie was great. I could talk a bit about that maybe later. I should have recorded something for it. I kind of should have. I never really planned to. I really love the video that me and my friend did talking about it. The little podcast before it came out. After it released, I don't know what it was. It was I think the reception was so positive that I didn't really feel the need that like I need to fight the good fight and get the messaging out there that the movie's going to be good. And there was no reason to speculate because the movie came out. But I do have some things to say about it, and maybe I'll put that on YouTube at some point. But yeah, I really like the Mario movie. It's been super interesting how much of a success it has been, despite the critical reception. And there's a movie channel that I follow here on YouTube called Beyond the Trailer. It's run by this lady, Grace Randolph, who is in some aspects very knowledgeable about the film industry. In other aspects, very not knowledgeable about the film industry. She is a very interesting and funny person, but she had such an interesting reaction to the release of the Mario movie because she really did not like it at all. And I think she was very convinced, actually she said she was very convinced that it was going to be a failure. Because once the word of mouth got out that it was not good, that the movie would fail, which has happened to plenty of movies before. But she sort of now, 2 weeks later, now it's been the huge success that it has been. She sort of had to admit, well, like, this is a new thing, what this type of video game movie is. And she had to admit that she did not realize that Mario fans were not expecting story from this film, that they do not care that it has an extremely simple story. I'm a Mario fan myself. I didn't really care. I was pretty happy with the amount of story that we got. And so it was interesting to see her say, she kind of has to change the way she thinks about not just the Mario movie, but potentially all video game movies, where whether your game does have an extremely involved story like Last of Us, or it doesn't like Mario, what is going to matter to the fans in the creation of an adaptation of that is going to be that the creator is involved, that Neil Druckmann is involved, that Miyamoto is involved. That's going to be, what's almost most important is that those people are involved and that it feels like the game. The conventions of what makes a good movie otherwise aren't going to maybe matter as much. I hear the guys who made the live action Mario's movie had some things to say about this. I'd like to see that if they had anything to say, because I actually watched that recently, my first time watching the full movie, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was interesting. It wasn't what people wanted at the time. What else do I got? I have Jerry Seinfeld with the puffy shirt. I'm not sure if you have any Seinfeld watchers in here. I'm a fan. Famous episode of the sitcom. We have Samurai Jack, High Priestess. Really cool design. This is like a nothing character. There's a member of this order that is a major character, but it's not this lady. This lady has like one scene, but she looks really cool, and that's why she got a Funko Pop. We have Baron Helmut Zemo from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Love this character. Love him in Captain America: Civil War. Did I just? No. Love the actor Daniel Bruhl. Great German actor. He didn't do much in this show, especially when he put this the purple sock on. He put it on for like 5 seconds and he did a pose, and that was it. But I do like the character. I'm looking forward to him showing up again, whenever that's going to be. Where are my Zatch Bell Pops? Yeah, I wish. You never know. If the anime comes out and gets big, it might kind of be a shirt at that point. I mean, I feel like everything gets Funko Pops. So last one. This is one I've had for a while. I bought it up here. It's Sam Porter Bridges. Death Stranding. It's actually PlayStation branded. It's not Death Stranding branded. Love this game. Good character. I can't say I love the character. I mean, you play as him. You kind of have to love him in a sense. But those are the Funko Pops. I got them right here. I didn't bring them here just to show. I have them. I have them lying around right here. Because I'm going to put them on a bookcase. Okay. So before I get into the chapter, which I'm going to, I want to talk about the video that I made, which has been getting, I think, really good views for my channel. Certainly, not by any other real metric of views, but for my channel for sure. And it seems to be getting passed around a little, I want to say. Like, it's sort of picking up steam. And I'm not going to talk about any algorithm. I don't know how the algorithm works. If the algorithm picked it up, chances are it would have way, way more views. But I do think that people are seeing it. Maybe that's just people watching it and linking it to their friends. And this is my video on the model sheets, which Doodles himself found and bought and recently revealed for the 20th anniversary. Justin, if you haven't watched that video, you should check it out because it's about something very interesting. And I don't really want to spend time talking about the model sheets because you could talk a lot about them. But I am really pleased with how the video came out. And I love that people are watching it. I got like 1 or 2 comments every day on it, which is, for once again, for a really, really small channel, for a nothing channel like mine, crazy. I'm sure Ryuta's video is great. I obviously can't speak the language, so I tend to not watch his stuff, but I know he does good work. Still, it's cool that we're getting the news out there of this find, and I'm glad that people are watching the video. And I'm sad that I did not mention these live streams in that, because say you were someone watching that video and you were like, oh, I wonder if this guy has any other Zatch Bell content. You would click the channel and you would click on videos and you would not see these streams, most of them, because they're live streams and those are in a different tab from regular videos. So I really should have mentioned that I do these. Yeah, you did watch it, Justin. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I said in the video, I don't think they were drawn by Raikou. But I think he may have been involved in their creation, may have overseen and picked some of the color designs for those characters. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Let's get into it. Let's get into chapter 12. So yeah, I was working a lot over the past couple weeks, like almost more than I've ever worked at any job, except for Black Friday when I worked at Target. So I just didn't. I barely had the energy to read the chapter, let alone talk about it. And just the time to set up my little setup and sit down, it just didn't work out. So I'm glad to be here talking about it. I always intended I was never going to skip this chapter, because obviously, why would I do that? That would be insane. So let's get started reading the chapter 12. So we start right where chapter 11 ended, with Rashield reflecting the bullets. Levy is surprised by this. She notices that Zatch and Kyo took down Wade. We see Zatch and Kyo with some weird little poses. And I hate to tell you guys, Belial is like, come on back. and that's it. There was a lot of speculation about whether Levy would stick around, whether she would become a good guy, whether she would at least get to tell them some stuff about the villains and then get called back by Belial, whether she would be killed by Belial for failing. There were a lot of theories. Unfortunately, she leaves. She summons her beasts back into her hair. She takes the rest of the spell vials and she disappears in some weird flashes of light. It kind of makes it seem like she's receding backwards into the light somehow. She says, hey, Conchime spared my life. We're going to remain enemies. This is a shonen manga. We'll see if that remains true. I have a feeling it will not. So Kyo notices her disappearing. Conchime actually doesn't. He only finds out later. What was I going to say about Levy and all that business? Darn, what was I going to say? I got to keep the stream going. I don't remember. I don't So Fulgore and Conchime, they're very excited to see Kyo and Zatch, obviously. Conchime thought Zatch was dead, you know? There's no reason for him not to think that, just like everyone else. Thought Zatch was dead. So from this point on, the chapter leans pretty heavily into comedy for a while. Oh, I remember what I was going to say, which is that Leve returning so quickly is kind of the opposite of what a lot of viewers wanted. However, it's not necessarily a bad thing because it'll probably lead to something good later. And I want to make sure I highlight that. I don't believe this is a bad writing choice. It is just, it is holding something for later in the story, because I am specifically going to talk about how good Raikou has been at satisfying fans in this manga after we read the chapter. That's what I wanted to say. So from this point on, the chapter switches pretty heavily into comedy for most of the entire chapter, which is fine because of what we get at the end. Obviously, in the moment, it's like, oh my god, is this it? Is this the whole thing? No. So, Conchime has sympathy for the monsters. He's saying, oh, they're gone. He was like, yeah, they vanished a moment ago. Consomme is back. Happy to see his brother. And he mentions Brig Brother Hansode, which is a little interesting thing that happened in between these chapters, where the guy that was Conchimme's father in the previous manga even named Conchimme's father, what was his name, Lipardon or something like that? No, that's Purio's last name, isn't it? Tiger. His name is Tiger. Conchimme's dad was just named Tiger. Now no longer exists as Tiger. That guy is now named Hansode. He's now Conchimme's older brother. Conchimme's father is probably the grandpa-looking dude with the beard. So that's a really interesting, it's a retcon that Raikou made. He hasn't really often done that. He even changed his answer in his Q&A book that revealed the information about Tiger to now talk about Hansode. So it's a little retcon that Silly Man is now Conchimme's older brother who may or may not be dead. Conchimme's pretty sad. And that's, we got a bit of emotion about that during the comedy segment here, which is the reason part of the reason I titled this stream the way I did. And Kyo describes how, this is a little bit of a coinky-dink here, maybe a little too coincidental. They arrived at the airport and they found Consomme leaving with Fulgore's manager. And it was weird that Kyo says we were trying to catch you at the airport. I don't know if maybe they thought he was leaving Milan, like that's his home. So it's not as if he was on tour and they were like, oh, he might be at the airport. He might be at the airport. Because no, he's in his home. I don't know why they thought Fulgore would be at the airport and he was not at the airport. I don't know if they thought he'd be escaping from the monsters. I'm not entirely sure what the deal with that is. But they did run into Consomme at the airport, which at least makes a level of sense because Fulgore asked his manager to take Consomme out of the country, keep him safe. Kyo laughs at Consomme. We got some classic Kyo faces here. He goes, you're just like a mini Consomme. And Consomme says, my brother said you're a real jerk. Kyo is perturbed by that. So Fulgore's manager explains things. We see how they found Fulgore, that she apparently knows where he is through GPS at some, I don't know why. We really necessarily need to know that. They could have just, looked for signs of a battle, but Raikou wanted to explain it a little more. So that's how they found them. Consomme also finds out at this point that they're in trouble, and that's why he's so distressed in the current scene. Fulgore nearly passes out, but he did a good thing. We know he did a good thing. And not only did he do a good thing helping Consomme win the battle, I'm speaking too fast. Sorry if let me know if it's coming in a little muffled, or if you don't understand something I just said. I know that can happen with this microphone sometimes. He says, "Hey, I got Tia's spell bottle. Probably going to be calling her Tia most of the time. I might switch. It's just one of the dub names I am used to. But you can call it whatever you want. I don't care." Fulgore says, "Hey, I got it. I got Tia spells. Pretty impressive, eh?" And Kyo's like, "Yeah, man." So, they know, these guys know each other. They know they're reliable. Fulgore's a silly guy, but we know they're reliable. Says, "Just what I'd expect from the Iron Man Fulgore." Fulgore, of course, says, "Hey, but can we maybe skip the lightning shocks this time?" And everyone laughs. "Oh, that's funny." Change the scene. We're back at Fulgore's house, having another feast. A lot of feasts. Maybe there's one feast per arc. I don't know. In this manga, we're about to enter into the third arc, so we'll see. Zelly and the gang are finally back, enjoying this food. Mippy is eating out of a bowl like a dog. Almost pretty happy. He's talking a little bit. And Consomme is making friends with them, saying, "Hey, we're kids, so let's eat it all in one big bite." Probably kind of trying to, prove himself or something. They're happy. They're all smiling. So while they're eating, everyone's having a good time. Consomme remembers, well, just shortly ago, I was not having such a good time. It was just me and Consomme. We were alone. We were afraid. We were on the lookout for enemies. We didn't know if anyone would find us. All we had is these crackers. I was hungry. Consomme was sleeping soundly. Some people were saying crackers shouldn't have existed in the Momoto world, because in the Gaiden chapter, Zatch did not have a snack box to make Vulcan out of, so snack boxes may have been created after the first series. I don't know, in between the two series. Could be. Far away, he could see the king's castle destroyed. Now he sees that there's hope, that his brother's okay, that Zatch and Kyo are there. I think Consomme did give Consomme his food. Yeah, I didn't say Consomme was hungry. I said Consomme was sleeping. I mean, he looks fine. But he sees everyone enjoying themselves. He imagines his family eating and enjoying themselves too. And I think he's both very happy and very sad, in here. I think that's what I see. Like in the title of the stream, there's losses and there are gains. And we will get to the biggest gains in a little bit. Consomme notices this, that his brother is a little down, and he says, "Come on, Consomme time." I'm going to try to. I'll give the people what they want. I'll try to read at least a fair amount of this. I think. So then he says, "Hey, Consomme time, and Consomme jumps. Almost. There's a funny thing that Raikou sometimes kind of does, where I think the way he's drawing Consomme rubbing his eyes and springing back is almost like it's like against his will, and that is very similar to Iron Man Fulgore. When Fulgore springs back up, it is often, especially when he's very beat up, like he does not really want to do that. Like it's just the effect that the song has on him. This sort of seems like a similar thing for Consomme. So clearly this is something that Consomme and his brother have done a lot. It's a little dance they do. And so they're singing Consomme, 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 Consomme. I don't know how it actually sounds. Let's just imagine it sounds like that. They're doing some dances. Everybody's joining in, just like when Fulgore dances, all kids are joining in, and Zatch, of course. Consomme has a little sort of radio that plays some sort of funky beat. Yeah, we'll wait for the anime. We will indeed. Consomme is doing a little kind of Iron Man Fulgore thing for a while there. And then he starts really singing a song, or maybe some kind of rap. I'm not entirely sure. And I think Reyes did such a good job localizing this. I can only assume that the rhymes are, very different in Japanese. There are different words that the rhyme is probably on. For instance, autographs might be the rhyme for the second lyric when it is not in the localized version. And I think that's an aspect of localization that some people might not like. Some people might say, well, even if it doesn't rhyme, just translate it correctly. And there might be merit to seeing both versions of that. But in this case, Reyes did decide to localize it, not simply translate it. And I think he did a great job. So this little song that Conchame, I don't know who's singing it, if they're all singing it or dancing to it. He goes, the coolest around, makes all the hearts pound. He's one of a kind, so get your autograph signed. Almost makes me think of a little B-52s. The guy, the coolest around, makes all the hearts pound. You know that guy in that band? They do Rock Lobster and Love Shack. Makes me think of that guy a little bit. They're still good. I saw a video of them recently performing, and they still got it, man. They're on like their farewell tour or something right now. It's crazy. Of course, Fulgore joins in. He's funny and chummy, plays outside when it's sunny. And you just can't deny he's one good-looking guy. I don't know what they're doing. They're like paddling or something. I think Reyes might have posted the literal version of these lyrics on the Discord. Let me look. Let me check for that, because I think that would be good to read after this. Yes, here it is. I found it. Here it is. So I'll read it after I finish this version here. So all the kids are like, yeah, they're all cheering. Then the song gets into a bit of a sad part, which I assume this is always part of the song, but also reflects Conchame's mixed emotions at this time. And I don't know how. I think this should go into a bit more of an operatic tone. Like, I think Conchame's emotions sort of show that. So he says, but even so, life's filled with woe, and we all fall on hard times. People always making fun of me. Traps spring right from under me. Depressed Conchame is here to stay. And he sinks down low. Fulgore goes on. But it's all kind of part of the performance, is the vibe I'm getting, because then the next part of the performance is everyone starts shouting food. So Consomme goes, donuts and candy, choco bananas, yummy, yummy. Cookies, yum. Jam bread, yum. Soft cream, like a dream. Consomme starts. He goes like that. Crepes and eclairs. The other kids join in. Pancakes for me. Milk, yummy, yummy. Even Kyo, I think, is joining in a little bit. Fruit parfait all the way. Grilled eel, what a meal. Vanilla shakes, they're also great. Yellowtail never fails. Of course, Zatch is on about the yellowtail. At this point, Conchame's going nuts. He's going crazy as part of this performance. Pudding and caramels and cream puffs all have tasty smells. Tons of layers like onions with your entree. What's not to love about our favorite Conchome? Once again, little B-52's energy there. Yeah, woo, everybody's happy. It's all good. Kyo's a little... he didn't look like he fully wanted to be a part of this, but he's here. And that's the performance. The how many pages? 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pages. Not all that many. All in all. So let's look at the literal version of this song. Justin said, you can tell that Conchame did this because he wanted to be a good role model to Conchame like Fulgore is to him. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like something Fulgore would have done for Conchame. And I think it's just something that Conchame probably always had with his brother, just to cheer him up or just to have fun. Give me 1 second. Okay. So yeah, let's read the literal version here. that Ray's also translated. Super cool, amazing too. He's like no other, very handsome. He's comical, sunny and cheery. Consomme is a handsome boy. But even this Consomme still has a hard time. Constant teasing, traps and pitfalls, depressed Consomme. Donuts, candy, chocolate bananas, cookies, jam buns, soft cream, crepes, eclairs, hot cakes, milk, fruit parfait, grilled eel, vanilla shakes, yellowtail, pudding, caramels, cream puffs, soft and chewy like an onion. Don't really know what that means. Everybody loves consomme. Rays didn't really know what that meant either. So one key thing to notice about this, I think for the parts of it that are actually a song, Ray's localized it super well. Still says pretty much the exact same thing, just in a way that rhymes. But the parts with the food, I imagine still rhyme in Japanese, but are also just listing food. They're not saying anything about the food. They're just listing it. So in order to have it rhyme, Ray's had to add some descriptive words in there, which is fun and interesting and just a choice that people translating have to make sometimes. So that's the end of that joyous scene. Then we get a scene back at the villain's lair, which I think a lot of us were maybe expecting, hoping in this chapter. We see, the main part of the lair is the ship-like structure, and we are seeing it, not as a really insanely cool painting, possibly by some kind of guest artist for the first time. Belial is there, and he's talking to some sort of an advisor guy who looks a lot like Wade. Looks like a brain with eyes, a lot like Wade. And he's saying, hey, I've tracked down some survivors in the region that we invaded. Belial says, form a strike force and snuff them out and enslave all who grovel for mercy. So I guess they have Sumimoto enslaved. I don't know if we will see that. We got another crazy 2-page spread of all the destruction. And Belial says, the torrent of destruction and despair that we've wrought. Actually, is it I think it's Belial's guy that says this. Those who remain are sure to be cowards, trembling in the shadows. The mere sound of our footsteps will be all it takes to send them running. I have a feeling that they are not right about that. But we see some more crazy destruction. This is a different location than before. I'm not entirely sure where this is in relation to the castle, but it might be somewhere, given that we actually see a map of the Momoto world in this chapter. Hey, welcome, Zatch Gamer. You're a little late, but not too late to see us talk about the ending and just after the discussion after going through the chapter. What an intriguing little game this is, hunting down demons who have been robbed of their spells. With no means of defending themselves, we can truly savor the experience. Trying to give him a little bit of a voice, maybe a C-3PO-esque. He's got 3 eyes, this guy. He's got multiple arms, just like Wade. He's got 2 little arms, kind of his main ones. And here is a panel where we see a map of the Momoto world, or at least a section of it, which is crazy. We don't know if this was something that was just drawn at random. We don't know if this, maybe they have a bigger version of this at the studio that has some data on it, where things are in relation to other things. I would love to see that if that was, if that exists. But it's cool to even just know that, like, there is a structure to this world. It has a beginning and an end, We don't know how the Momoto world is structured. We don't know if it's a planet. We don't know if it's flat. It could be flat. We can't really tell just from this map. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I was happy when I came up with that. So they have little pieces placed on the map of, maybe camps of Momoto who are hiding out. Belial says, and yet 2 of my cards have been eliminated by those wretched books. And this is going to be a part of what we're going to talk about this month for sure, is the books. because there's, I would say, a pretty big highlight on the books as a force with agency in this chapter. Now, we've known kind of since the original series, but especially since Cafe 16, that the books are a force with agency. However, this, I think, is the first time that we're really seeing it laid out in this series. The books being referred to as a force. I don't remember if it's happened before. And we see books kind of act in a more pointed way later on in this chapter when, compared to, I think, when before when Kyo turned all the stone books into real books, they just sort of flew away. That could have just been a spell that was cast a long time ago that was animating them. We don't really know. But Belial's very mad. He blames the books for doing this. And, he's kind of right to do that because the books are what allow Momoto to unlock more spells. So without the books, the Momoto, I think, would be in big, big trouble. We see these cards that he actually has for, I believe, Wade and probably Hanage-bu. They actually look different. One of them is white. I think the one for Wade, and then one of them is darker colored. He just has them here. He says 2 of them have been eliminated. So he says, brother, sir, the battle that takes place once every 1,000 years to determine the Demon King. I want you to identify the ones placed in the final 10 whose deaths had not been confirmed yet. On top of that, track down the whereabouts of their former partners. So this is a very interesting goal, pretty intelligent goal from Belial. He knows the books are a threat. The people the books are with are a threat. The Momoto who have the best chance of beating us are the top 10. And they cannot operate with a book without a partner. So we need to find not just the Momoto, but the partner. This also reveals what you might consider to be a possible sort of roadmap for Zatch Bell 2, if not as a whole, then at least for a good while, being the hunt for the top 10. And you might think, well, maybe each successive arc will cover one Momoto that was in the top 10. Now, this is also what people thought about One Piece in regards to the 7 warlords. Even Ichiro Oda himself believed this at one point, that he would have to write Luffy fighting one warlord after another until he'd fought all 7. That did not end up being true. And I don't think it will end up being true in this manga either. I wouldn't say this is going to be a bait and switch or anything. I don't think Raiku's intending something like that. I think we probably will follow this roadmap for a little bit. I certainly think we are going to see the main 4, 5, let's say 5, because I think Brago is I think Brago is going to be 5th. In that order. After that, I think we might start meeting 2 Momoto at once. I think there's going to be a point where we talk to Apollo, and they have all the coffins there set up. They can possibly revive multiple Momoto. Crazy things can happen. People might go to the Momoto world sooner than we think. I think there are going to be plenty of twists and turns, and I also think that we will be focusing on more than just the top 10, more than just the characters we know and love. That is a worry that some people have. I would say we're probably just going to have to wait and see on that, but I think that a big intention of Raiku's with this manga is going to be to highlight some characters that fans love but did not get to do much in the original series. Justin asks, think we'll see Patty soon? I think that's pretty likely. I don't know if it will be soon. However, I do think it might, there might be one more character we know with the group of Momoto at the end of this chapter. I think that might be a little thing that Raikou reveals maybe next chapter. I think it might not just be the character we see coming up. So Belial says, Brelda says it's going to take some time to discern their location in the human world. Now they're looking for humans. Belial says we'll begin with the first hapless soul to fall victim to our search. Exterminate them. So that's an interesting I mean, exterminate them is a cool line for a villain to say, but the line before that is interesting because you can't really tell if he's planning for the future or if he's saying we already found somebody that, we've located and we're kind of waiting to pounce. And it seems like it might be that, going by what we see just after this. So immediately after, we see the book shining right in front of Kyo. It wakes him up. He goes, huh, what? He says, Zatch, wake up, there's a book. Zatch is sleeping in a sleeping bag. He says, in sleep. They say it's a blank, a spell book with no color. Book is making a loud screeching noise, like trying to tell him something, right? Kyo says, could it be? He goes and gets the vial with Tia's spell element in it, plops the element out. The book immediately changes to Tia's color. It gets text inside. So right there, the book is kind of doing something, and Kyo was able to sort of intuit what it seemed to want. It's not like, now you could maybe say many of these books could in a sense be artificially intelligent, and maybe they kind of could be. They could be more like computers than they are like people. But this sort of seems like something that there was at least, whether it be programming or a functional mind in the book appeared in front of Kyo because so Kyo could put Tia's spell element in it. There you go. Zatch didn't call the book orange. He actually said vermilion specifically. Has there been debate over what color her book is in the past? I don't really recall that. So they say, hey, turn vermilion. It's Tia's book. Kyo says, yeah, maybe this means Tia is still alive too. And this is the point where you go, oh, we might see this like right now. We're 28 pages into this chapter. We might be seeing Tia like coming up. Kyo says, okay, book, now go find Megumi. The book smacks right into Kyo's face several times, hurting him quite a bit. I think this is just supposed to be a funny moment of, Kyo was standing in the wrong direction. The book's trying to get past him. I think some people have sort of connected this to Tia's general vibe of beating people up, but I don't think she would beat Kyo up. I actually just realized there's like a poster of Fulgore in this room. There's like a portrait of him on standing on some sort of, with a leg up on a table or something. I think it's Fulgore. I did not notice that before. That's funny. Once again, if I'm speaking too fast or anything I say someone doesn't understand, feel free to ask me what I said or to repeat myself or something. So the book then waits in front of the door, and Kyo says, or Kyo and Zatch, one of them says, are you trying to tell us to follow you? So they are ascribing now intelligence to the books. So two instances here that are really placing a lot of agency on the spell books. I think that's going to continue as the series goes on. Why could the spell book talk to the king in Cafe 16 and this spell book cannot talk to Zatch and Kyo? Zatch is also the king. If it was a rule that the spell book can talk only to the king, well, we have the king right here. Why can't the spell book talk to him? I think there might be a reason for that. Since I'm talking about Cafe 16, I want to say again something that I have said a few times before, but maybe not in these streams, that in my view, the Gash Cafes are both canon and non-canon. Elements of them are real and matter and are important to the story. Other elements of them, such as the humans and the Momoto being together again at the point that they are not canon. It's sort of another way I've said it is that the events of them are not canon, but the emotions and the sort of facts that are imparted in those chapters are. Okay, so Doodle says it might have been that specific book. Zatch Book Gamer says, I think it's because the book paired with the demon and partner. because the final 70, 40, and 10 were able to hear what their own had to say. That's true. That was a message that I believe was audible. I don't know if that was necessarily audible or if it was sort of like thought transmission, but I mean, there's not too much of a difference. The Cafe 16 might have possibly happened. Of all the cafes, it's the one that could have happened the most, because Willie, the king's partner at that point, would have been long dead in the human world. So that could be a reason, is that this is Tia's book. It cannot speak to them. I think we will hear the books talk at some point. What role the books are going to play in the plot, we don't really know. I think something back when the manga was still running that readers imagined was that the books would eventually come to be portrayed as a sort of evil force, because the battle was seen as not a great thing. The books might be the ones running the battle. We learn that they are, of course, in the manga itself. It was sort of unclear as to whether it was the king that ran the battles or if he merely decided to let them happen, which is sort of more what we see here. I don't know if we necessarily know if the king actually has the ability to stop the battles at all. There's a lot of questions. Dragon Ball Super Angel Syndrome. Yeah, I mean, well, in what way do you think they're compared to the angels? The angels are interesting in Dragon Ball. They haven't really come to the forefront, I wouldn't say. I think there might be a little about them in the Super manga, which I haven't read. So there's a lot you could say about, theories and speculation on what's going to happen with the books. I'm not too much of a speculator. I don't really know at this point. I think what I would obviously want is for our characters to still have the agency in any given situation. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think the books will guide them. I think the books will generally be a force for good and help them. I think our characters will have to do the heavy lifting. And I wouldn't be surprised if the books did at one point say, hey, murder these enemies, kill them, eliminate them. And Zatch has to say, I'm not going to do that, guys. Chill out. Could happen. To be higher up godlike enemies that are believed by the fans to be secretly evil. Okay, yeah, I mean, secretly evil, we'll see. So, the book is shining. Are you trying to tell us to follow you? Do you think it needs our help right now? And Zatch says maybe what some readers would have been thinking. Is Megumi in danger? They'll continue shining, like it's trying to tell them something. So yes, we know that the enemies are not just after Tia, they're after Megumi. They are trying to find Megumi in the human world. And she does not have anyone to defend her, not as far as we know. Maybe she has some guys with guns. I don't know. But no one with magic. So Megumi might be in trouble, and they got to find her. And that's where we leave Zatch and Kyo for this chapter. I'm going to go get my laptop charger so I can plug it in. You might be able to tell that this light, the light for this living room actually doesn't work. So this is just a lamp back here. For now, I'm going to try to get light bulbs for this. They're very tiny. I'm not gonna bother explaining it. I don't have the lamp back there all the time. I just move it back there for these streams. Words cannot describe what happens next. Maybe not, but we'll try. We'll try. Justin says, I wonder if Darwin Bell is alive, including Zatch's mom is alive somewhere. Probably not. It's a good question. We might see what happened to the old king at some point. Meanwhile, in the demon world, what gives? Why do we have to get stuck with tracking down some weak human? Talk about a chore. Hee hee hee. You'd better not let our prince hear you saying that. So we see some very old witch-looking lady, very, very witch-looking lady. You couldn't look much more like a witch if you tried to look like a witch. She has something strange by her feet. I guess that is a foot. It kind of looks like there's like little toes with claws on them. It's weird that it sticks out from under her like that. But it's a lady dressed as a witch. She's very stout. She has a hat. She has a staff on the ground. And yes, it is interesting that we haven't seen her face yet. She might be especially ugly. She might just be a monster of that looks a way we don't expect. But we do see who she's talking to, who is sort of a punky-looking young woman. Looks to be around the same age as Levy. So it's interesting that we're getting what looks to be two female villains in a row. Now, as tends to happen with pretty much anything these days, there might be some debate about what this character's gender is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's okay. For now, I do think she's female. I'm going to refer to her as that. She says, I just don't see why Gunther gets to have all the fun out there clearing out the stragglers. Isn't that supposed to be our job? So they're in the same transport room that we saw Zelly and Olmo and Mippy and Ziggy make it to in the very first chapter of the series. You know I wanted to go demon hunting way more than he did. Hee hee hee. Well, if you ask me, I think this will be quite a thrill. They teleport to the human world. Which one is the sorcerer? Which one is the monster or golem? We don't know. Then we get to the next scene. So here we see a cave, very cool looking cave. I don't know if we'll get another better spread of this later on in the next chapter. But it is a cave decorated with beings that clearly look like they have some association with Tia. We see women, especially on top of the door, a woman that looks just like the one on Sashirudon. We see round orb gems that look just like the ones on Tia's spells. We see some stuff that we haven't seen. We see a pretty detailed symbol on the top of this door that we have not seen before. And we see some other beings who have multiple hands, more orbs, some of the elements that we come to know from Tia's higher level spells. So immediately, there's also some Emoto writing on the door. This is the point where you basically know, sorry for the coughing, by the way. It's just hard for me to talk for this long, but I do it anyway because I like talking about Zatch Bell. This is the point where we know, okay, we're going to see Tia right now. We got 4 pages left. She's going to show up in one of these. Maybe you didn't think that. That's fine, but I thought. There's a few other caves on these mountains, little caves. So, 2 figures arrive at this place. This guy's voice, I have no idea what to do. I might make him sound like Frieza, but I'm not going to attempt that. What have we here? Some sort of ancient temple. I see. It's the perfect place to hide. Presumably, this is Gunther. It says here that there should be about 30 people inside. I don't see why we had to bring a whole squad to fight off one demon that can't even use its spells. This figure, I think his name is Gunther, so there's probably a guy. Takes out a whip, sort of whirls it off from being wrapped around himself. You notice he doesn't really have hair, or if he does have hair, it's placed very weirdly around his head and very flat. Yeah, it's a super interesting design. He, like you say, is merged to an apparatus that really resembles Frieza's hovercraft from Dragon Ball. So he says, you have your orders. Perform your task well, won't you? So this guy is a commander. He rules with the whip, an iron fist. And he commands this monster who he has a chain connecting right to the monster's head. So this monster, maybe, I don't know, might be enslaved by him. We don't really know what's going on inside this monster's head. Now, given what we've seen in both series, perhaps things are not as they seem. Perhaps this big guy is not so evil as he might look. But we don't need to get into that. Maybe next month we can get into that. So, this crazy huge dude, massive muscles, probably bigger than Wade. He has sort of a cape on his back that is held in there with two pins. You can't tell what kind of head he has. You can't tell how much of that protrudes from his neck. It might be mostly flat. It reminds me of a Dark Souls boss. I haven't played Dark Souls, but I've seen the boss. And he appears to have something really huge on his back. That's what I'm curious about. I didn't notice this before now. He has a really huge wrapped up with sheets and rope on his back. And surrounding them are a lot of other troops. And we can only guess that these troops are not cards. These are just random troops. Gunther refers to them as a squad. So we don't know exactly what these guys are, where they come from. Their faces are covered. They all look the same. They look a bit like Maestro from the anime. So he says, you have your order. Perform your task well, won't you? Then we see panel. There's a woman who's lifting a weight. It's really, it's heavy weight, you can tell, but she's not struggling. She's lifting. It's huge. It's a huge weight we see. Two massive stones, like something Zora from One Piece would lift. Up and down, up and down. Then, next page. A cat-like Momodo says, I saw them. They're coming this way. Now we see a lot of other Momodo around here. No one that looks familiar, but like I said, I think there may be someone familiar here that we just haven't seen yet. We see, I think, some families, a few families, parents and children. Help us, Tio. Weight goes down, super heavy. Any luck with our rescue team? No, not yet. She, I think, takes the knot off her hair. Goes out behind her. Lily, just in case, I'm leaving you in charge of finding a way to get the kids to safety. Okay. Everyone, you have nothing to be afraid of. I will protect everyone's tomorrow. So on the final page of this chapter, we see, standing proud, Tia, the secondary main Momodo of the series, one of Zatch's best friends, sometimes tormentor, but always a protector of our group. Standing proud, a little dirty, and very, very muscular, ready to defend the villains that are coming to arrive. And that is how chapter 12 ends. With Tia at last, we see her. It's crazy. It's exciting. Very, very exciting. I was trying to be dramatic when I was reading it. But oh man, I was pretty happy when I saw this. And there's a lot to discuss. I think it's pretty clear now that we're going to see the main characters in the same order that they were introduced in the series. After Tia, it's going to be Ponygon. And then I think after Ponygon is going to be Brago, even though he was introduced before any of these characters, even before Conchime. I think we will see him next. Though, like I said, we may start seeing multiple characters. But Tia is back, and it has gotten maybe as big a reaction as Zatch's return did. There are people who have been sharing this page who like don't even read the show, who kind of remember Tia from the old series, who going, "Whoa, what is happening here?" And part of that is that Tia is surprisingly muscular now. She's buff. She's got those gains, just like in the title. Especially when we see her on the first page, she has these really super defined muscles. She's lifting this weight, and she has been training. That's clear. She has been training to protect everyone's tomorrow, come what may. And there's so much you could say about this. Now, some people have been, a little weird about it. There's people who like muscle girls, and are just saying, "Ooh, oh wow, look at this." I think obviously what it means for the character is really interesting. But I think the thing that I really want to say is that I'm so impressed that Raikou went in this direction. And it almost seems to me that he must have, if not directly looked online to see specific discussions on his series, which I don't really think many manga writers do, because I think writers tend to enjoy creating their own stuff. I think a lot of writers avoid conversations that people have, specific conversations, because they don't want them to influence how they're actually going to write their thing. Somehow Raikou knew. He knew, whether that was through looking it up online or just some sort of understanding of his own fans and of what people were seeing and what people wanted. He knew that this is what people wanted. That is incredible to me. I think there is no feasible reason that Raikou should have taken this path. Which is crazy because a lot of people wanted this, very specifically this. I've seen people say, not only do we want Tia to train under Wanrei, which is something that was kind of alluded to in the original series, but that we want her to be physically strong and powerful. Zatch Gamer says it's also very possible that there was always the plan, hence the 150 kilogram grip strength from Tia's Gash Cafe. See, I don't remember that. I'll have to go back and read that. Where is that showing? Because I know that's mostly a discussion between Tia and Kalulu. And the grip strength as well, something she often did in the original series, which was choke the other characters, the other kid characters. So that could have easily, I think, just been a joke on that. I don't think there was any visible reason why Raikou would go in this specific direction, yet it's what so many people wanted, and yet he did go in this direction. He did go in this direction. And that is amazing, is that he continues to do almost like the best possible things, at least in a macro sense, which is really all you could reasonably, let's not get into like, oh, well, I think this little thing could have been done better. That's at the point where you have to start asking yourself, oh, I guess I should have written Zatch Bell to that. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty and focus on that. That doesn't really matter. That I could not write, even if I tried. I could not write it as well as Raikou has written it. These big picture things are stuff that, fans can think of before they read them, before they see them in the series. And they can say, I want to see a Kanchime that has gone through his character development and is brave. I want to see a Tia that has become strong and more able than ever to protect the people she loves. I want to see, I don't know, everything else we've seen so far. Fulgore is still cool. Kyo is a teacher. Kyo is smart. Kyo is helping people. I mean, some of that stuff is obvious, but look, I'm just saying, Raikou hasn't made a mistake yet in this regard. He hasn't made a mistake yet. And in the previous chapters, I was talking about how, everyone who thought Kanchime was still a coward should apologize. But I mean, look, I wanted Tia to be buff, just for the reason that I think it's cool for her character. And I think it leads to her looking pretty darn cool, as we see right here. She has some massive genie pants on. I don't really know what that's about. but it does look pretty neat. She has some of these very tall laced up army boots. I was a person who wanted that, and I didn't really think Raikou had a reason to do it. I didn't know how how Raikou would do it. Wasn't it supposed to start at 10? Am I missing something? I'm sorry. I maybe I didn't get it right. It did start at 10 Eastern time here. I'm sorry if that messaging wasn't super clear. But anyway, welcome. I'm glad you could make it once you started talking about Tia. And so I think that's sort of an amazing thing that Raikou, it's a tear that Raikou has been on. Not just bringing back the characters in kind of the order that people want, which is an obvious order, but also in the way that people want. I think is really something. I think it's really incredible. And I'm very, very excited for this conflict that we're going to see. I think even, there was a chapter during the Conchame fight. It was a chapter where I didn't do a stream, which was, I think the chapter Mo Poruk was revealed, where it just kind of felt like a shonen fight again. And like, I didn't enjoy it too much. I'm thinking this one is going to be like, I'm way more interested in how this is going to go. I think there's almost no chance that it's not going to be super interesting for a few reasons. Rip Ponygon needs to become reality. So yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, I don't know, Royal Ghost. I don't know. I tried to make it clear that what time it was, but there's different time zones. It happens. Pinta, is Pinta the giraffe? Is Ashblow Gamer? Which one is Pinta? Is Pinta a horse? I know there's some huge horses in Animal Land too. So discussing the fight that is incoming, there's two fights incoming, right? One of which is Tia versus Gunther and his squad. The other of which is Zatch, Kyo, Conchame, Fulgore, Zelly, Mippy, Olmo. You never know if they're going to be involved. Maybe Consomme too. I don't freaking know. Versus whoever's looking after Megumi, which is probably the punk woman and the witch. So those are two fights that maybe we'll see happen at the same time. Maybe we'll see cross-cutting between one another. And maybe eventually we will see converge into one single conflict. Because how does Tia win against these beasts? Now, she's going to do her damn best, and she's going to have some good shit, just like Fulgore had holding back Gozer. But I don't think she can win against these guys without some help from spellbooks or other characters. I think she's going to do really well for a while, but I think she is going to need some help near the end. And we all get by with a little help from our friends. Now, I don't know how that would happen. The witch and the punk woman are newly teleported into Earth from the teleporter room. Maybe they try to run back at some point, and Kyo and Zatch or whoever hitches a ride with them. I don't know. Maybe the book does something. Maybe something happens when the book finds Megumi. I think we may see, I think it's pretty likely that we will see, simply because, like I said, I don't see a real way for Tia to escape without getting captured, which, I mean, we know the intent is that she would not get captured, that they're only capturing those who grovel for mercy, which Tia wouldn't do. But yet she's not going to die. I also don't think she'd be captured because it just wouldn't be good for the character to be captured. Of course, after we see her like this, if she were to be captured shortly after, that would just be totally counter to how we're seeing her now. Raikou wouldn't do that. So what has to happen? She has to have help from something. So I think we may see the first example of the two worlds interacting with each other in like a real, tangible, moment-to-moment way in the series. Royal Ghost, it's 11:05 p.m. for me. So like I said, I started at 10 my time. This new physique, she may have some sort of Ceruto Siphon or something. Yes, I would expect her to have some sort of defensive, um, offensive spells. I mean, that are similar in theme with her old stuff, like perhaps body armor, um, that she could use to fight. But she probably won't be able to access any of that right now, unless she has some spells left over, like Contreme did. I think that's kind of unlikely. I think she will use both her physical strength, which will probably be formidable, along with maybe some traps or something to fight these villains. She's actually got some straight up houses that were built behind her. So it's a temple, but there are just some sort of living spaces in here. There might be some weapons. I think she will be protecting this group of Emoto. I think some of them will probably also join in the battle, similar to how the citizens helped Fulgore and Contreme out. Saifojo is back in the book. I do think, though, that the books, I don't think they can move between worlds freely. I think that would be too easy. I think if that was the case, the book would have just gone right to Tia. Instead, it has to find Megumi. But I think we're in for a super interesting conflict with one enemy who's probably going to rely mostly on brute force, and with another enemy who is going to be a little more interesting, similar to the ones we have seen so far, that is going to be fighting Zatch and Kyo and Contreme and Fulgore. And this is going to be, I think, another interesting thing about this is that this could potentially be the first team battle of the series with Zatch and Contreme on the same side. And Contreme has an extremely powerful spell now in Mo Paruk. And I think the enemy is going to need either a good way to combat that, or potentially Contreme is going to be put out of commission in some way. Because you could kind of say at this point that Contreme is stronger than Zatch. With Mo Paruk, it kind of seems like if Contreme gets his mouth on you, then he sort of wins, I think. I mean, we don't entirely know how the spell would work on someone with a human level intellect. So that might be interesting to see him try that. There's so much that could happen. Whatever happens, I'm sure it's going to be good. But a big thing that people have been wondering after seeing Tia like this, and it's inspired a lot of fan art already, has been what are the other characters going to look like? Which has obviously been something a lot of people have been wondering. There's been a lot of discussion about Ponygon now, renewed discussion about Ponygon. Is he going to be a full-size buff horse? Is he going to stand on two legs like his mom? Is he going to speak English? My guess is he's going to look like a horse and he's going to speak English. Once again, Raikou is just going to give people what they want. In the case of Ponygon, it's a little more obvious and easy to expect that we will get what people want than it was with this instance with Tia. He was already ripped at the end of the series, right, Doodles? I don't know if he's going to get more ripped. He's going to be that ripped. It's going to be a trip to see him speaking for sure if that happens. Justin asked, do you think Shimparuk is going to get nerfed in some way and didn't have some kind of weakness? I don't think it had a weakness. I think the weakness was a Shin spell, and they couldn't use it for very long. But I don't think it's going to get nerfed. I think they are just not going to have access to it. I think that the characters in this series are going to get by for a while with just the spells they have and some brand new spells that are going to be unlocked through the book. But that eventually, at the very least, Zatch and Kyo are going to switch to using the same type of sorcery that the enemies are using. That's where I think the combat in this series is going, at least for Zatch and Kyo. So I can't wait to see that when that happens. Yes, the weakness of Shimparuk was the user. Raikou said that if we're wielded by someone more intelligent, it'd be all but unstoppable. It's already pretty unstoppable, though. We all know that. Yeah, I mean, Ponygon talking, you can't really imagine it. It's going to be bizarre. There's a chance it won't happen. But given that we literally saw Ponygon's dad, who looked like a horse, he could talk, right? It wasn't just his mom, was it? We saw Ponygon's dad kind of refreshed my memory on this, because didn't he appear at some points kind of like a horse, but at some points also kind of like a human? Like, wasn't there a scene where he was having a picnic? Maybe he was wearing something, he got bitten by a snake or something like that. Did he like change his form in a way, or did Raikou just kind of draw him slightly differently? Because it's been a long time since I've read that stuff. And yes, we are told specifically in the cafes that there is a reason why Ponygon can't talk, is because he's so young. So that kind of tells us he should be able to talk now. And, you know, it's going to be one thing to see him talking to our characters. I think it's going to be even weirder to see him talking with Sunbeam, especially after their interaction in the cafe. I really wonder how that's going to go. But I can't wait. It's going to be fascinating, especially having Ponygon, who is such a mobile character, you know? His whole thing is speed. I think that could make for some really interesting battles. I hope the battles are just going to start getting so nuts in this show. Already the one with, sorry, I'm raising my voice a little too loud. Already the one with Wig and Gil, I think, was like a much higher kind of octane fight than many of the ones in the original series. And I just want them to continue escalating in terms of the kinds of attacks that are done, the kind of destruction that happens. Yeah, imagine when Tio finds out Zatch is live and strangles him out of anger for not finding a way to tell her. So that's something that people have been wondering about. There's actually been some fan art about Tia hugging Conchame and Zatch because she's relieved to see them. And you know, crushing them maybe in the process. It's hard to say where Raikou would go with that scene. It could go either way. He could totally have Tia choking him again. Or he could have her say, "Oh my God, it's great to see you. I can't believe you're alive," and hugging them. It could go either way. I think Tia is, you know, obviously still much the same person as she was. I think she probably is still going to act kind of weird around Kyo in this series. That's going to be really funny to see, I think. And I mean, after that, man, the sky's the limit, man. Who knows what's going to happen, man? Anything could happen now that this has happened, man. Anything could happen. Anything the fans want to see. Who the hell knows? Maybe Lien is the leader of the Chinese mafia now. Maybe Kafka is a freaking Formula One driver in Europe. I mean, God, what the hell else? Maybe Brago is just a mountain man with a massive beard, living in the mountains, doing his thing. Maybe White's going to be back, and he's going to be super handsome now, and he's going to have new powers. Maybe Vino is being raised by Dr. Riddles. Did that happen? Am I imagining that, or was Vino taken in by Dr. Riddles at the end of the series? I think that happened, right? Maybe Dr. Riddles is going to be totally nuts in his old age, which I've speculated on a little bit before. Give me Laila, Raikou. You can have my firstborn. We'll get it, Doodles. We'll get it. Laila, I think, will probably just be kind of like the same, but, you know, like older and beautiful and more ethereal. Do you guys think Sunbeam and Elle will have a child? I don't know. Because obviously, like, being a nun, you can't have a relationship like that. I could see Kafka and Elle still being extremely close and maybe being, like, for all intents and purposes in a relationship. But I kind of don't think that Sister Elle would give that up, would give up her I don't know what you really call it, like the status of being a nun. I don't think she would give that up. But maybe she would. If she did give it up, then yeah, they might have a kid. Like I said, you know, anything is, the sky's the limit at this point, all right? Kyo, they go back to Mochinoki. Kyo's like, "Oh my God, I got to introduce you to my wife." And it could be anybody. It could be Mariko. It could be Suzume. It could be Miss Wriggle. It could be teacher's wife divorced him and married Kyo instead. It could be Praying Mantis Joe's actor. It could be anybody. It could be Keo. Could be a polygamist. He could be married to like 6 different people. The sky's the limit now. We're going to see Momon. Raikou confirmed that. Hell yes. I know I remember he confirmed that with the New Year's illustration, and it is gonna be great. Mark my words on that, bro. I liked Momon in the original series. I still defend Momon. And I know Raikou's gonna do well by him and by us, the readers, and what we want in this sequel. I know he's gonna. I have a lot of confidence in him. The confidence is at an all-time high. Even if it gets lower, even if he takes a few missteps, he's still been doing so well with this series. And it's such a crazy thing, by the way, that we now have 12 chapters. That's a year of the manga. The manga has lasted over a year. February was the anniversary of the announcement. We have Volume 2 releasing. It came out with Conchime and Fulgore, and a new Gash Cafe featuring Gil and Boo, which I would recommend you guys read. I'm not going to read through it here. So we're in it now. We're in the series, but in some respects, it still feels like it's just getting started. It's so hard to know what this series is going to end up being and where it's going to go. But I think with this new buff Tia, I think has satisfied fans so much, fans of all types, of all kinds. I think it's been such a cool thing to see. And I think the goodwill towards the series is really high right now. And I just hope Raikou's going to keep delivering. So yeah, I guess we can just throw it to the chat now, answer a few more questions. I wonder what Jeet has been up to. That's a good question. He's also pretty old. He might still be doing his thing for all we know. You know, it's been now we haven't seen it happen many times, but we have seen more partners kind of than the corresponding Momoto in a way, because we've seen Hige, and the partners really haven't changed very much, especially the ones that were like already adults. Fulgore is pretty much the same. Hige is the same. Jeet might be the same as well. Megumi, I think, will probably be pretty similar. I just kind of feel like it might not really be something Raikou is interested in changing those characters, especially when he may have already considered them to be largely grown up in the first series. And then by the end of the first series, of course, they had already gone through development. Raikou might just say, why should I improve on something I already view as being pretty perfect? The kids he could do something with, because yes, they also went through development, but they have a lot of life left. They are now older. They have new things that they can go through that older people can deal with. So I kind of think Raikou's goal with this series I think he might be much more interested in revisiting the younger characters than he is the older characters, which is why, of course, of the partners we've seen, Kyo has changed the most because he was the youngest. And I think other young partners like Ellie or Sauza, or were there any other main young partners? Not that I remember. But I think they're going to be the ones who've changed. I think a lot of similarly, I think the older Momoto, like Barry, who you're mentioning, may not have changed much. Brago may not have changed much. I think he might look different. But I do just think that this is just from what I've seen so far. I think it seems like Raikou generally has been changing the characters who seem like they could have changing to do, you know? And not changing the ones who don't as much. In the discussion of characters who could return, Victorine's definitely going to come back. I don't know if he'll have a big segment. I think he will have it'll be a big segment in terms of its impact. I don't think it will be, maybe possibly not a big segment in terms of its length. I don't think he's going to be main character or anything. We'll be back. Pirio and Lupa are probably going to be back. Something that I think probably creates a feeling of trepidation and maybe fear in a lot of fans. However, I still have faith in Raikou, in that he will, at the very least, portray the characters in a good way, because he hasn't broken that so far. I want to see how tall Xian has gotten. Lupa got facial reconstruction surgery. Maybe. You never know. If Raikou could retcon, Kachime's brother, also, he can retcon anything he wants, all right? If he can read the mind of fans who want to buff Tia, that's all I'm going to say. I don't need to get into the weeds with it. It's all I'm going to say. If that message could be transmitted to his brain, that's all I'm going to say. Maybe even Yopopo. Yopopo is a character who had a lot of room to grow. He was very young, and he also kind of couldn't talk. He also potentially has really interesting spells, so that's a character that might have a big role. There's so much. I didn't mean that Yopopo needs facial reconstruction surgery. Maybe he will after his fight in this series. I don't know. But you could go on forever just going through every single character, saying, what do we think is going to happen with him? Is Susie going to be a nurse like she said she wanted to be in the bonus Cash Cafe? Is it wrong? I kind of want Rodu back. He seems like a type who would never surrender. No, it's not wrong. I also want Rodu back. I think Rodu's a really interesting villain who, just when put up against the events that he was put up against, and with the partner that he had, was able to appear good in terms of the messages he was trying to get across his partner, which I think is a really interesting way to handle that character, which I think is still villainous, was shown in the cafe to be villainous, possibly plotting something with one of my favorite characters, Zophis, who I would really like to see again. Though I fear what kind of reaction an adult Zophis would get. Let's just leave that there as well. So the sky's the limit, like I said. There's any number of things Raikou could do. I find it hard to believe that he will make too many mistakes, and I can't wait. I think we're going to get a cool fight. I think we're going to get some more big reveals during this conflict. And I can't wait to see how Tia is characterized in this new series and how she handles these invaders. So I think that's probably all for this month. We've been streaming for about an hour and 20 minutes. I'm sorry, about an hour and 30 minutes. I'm sorry if some of the stuff I said didn't come out great. I know the webcam mic is not perfect, but at least it doesn't disconnect. I'm going to try to get a better mic soon. Yeah, I mean, that would be really interesting, Royal Ghost. If Zophis and Rodu do team up and they control some of the villains, anything can happen. Like I said, I mean, we might have some Emoto slaves who have been taken by the villains, and who knows if there are any poor souls that we know that might be in that situation. Though they only said they would take the people who grovel as slaves, so maybe that's where Zophis is, for all we know. Because if anyone would do that, it would be Zophis. As much as I like the guy. My voice is getting pretty tired, as you can tell, so I'm going to leave it there. I love having you all in the chat. I think we have sort of a group here that it's cool when everyone's here, and it's cool when others besides are here. I'd love to have more people, obviously. But, Doodles, Royal Ghost, Justin's Game, Zatch Gamer, it's always great to see you guys in. And I obviously don't expect that every month. That would be insane to expect someone to pop in to a stream. But it's always great to see y'all and talk about these chapters. And I can't wait for the next one. There's a new Zatch pop-up shop coming in Japan. I didn't even mention it. That's super exciting. There's going to be some awesome merchandise there. That's on Twitter. That's been super hype. Can't wait. I'm not sure. I might be in Las Vegas when the next chapter comes out. So chances are my stream will be delayed a little bit. But I'm super excited for Vegas too. I'm excited to gamble. I'm excited to dress up in a suit. I'm going to go see Cirque du Soleil. I'm going to go see Rod Stewart in concert, the British musician. My parents love him. They bought concert tickets. Gamble responsibly. I'm gonna. I'll have a little limit. Might be a little wiggle room in the limit, but I know what the maximum is going to be. I haven't seen Kaiji, but I kind of know what the deal is. That's another manga artist who I think is such an interesting guy. Where this dude has been writing gambling manga for just like how long has he been doing it? And it's just like what he does, and he loves it. I mean, we should all find something that we can devote ourselves to so singularly, of not just the practice of writing manga, but the practice of writing manga about such a specific thing. You can find a way to do what you love. Okay, we're starting to ramble. Thank you guys for coming. I'm really glad I could get on and talk about this chapter. It was such a good chapter. And see you back next month. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, guys.